QSR radio listeners, this is Adam Mazub welcoming you back to the show. Today, we were talking in the first hour about the COVID-19 vaccine with the Chief Medical Officer for the state of Michigan, Dr. Natasha Badesrin, and we hope that you found that valuable. And now we're shifting the topic to talk about things in schools, and we will be touching about some issues that are happening right now nationwide. So with me is Dr. Souweidane, who is a student empowerment facilitator with the Dearborn Public Schools. She trains staff and students on restorative practices, facilitates restorative circles with staff, students, parents, and administration work with administration on reducing suspension while using other ways to repair harm and build community in our schools. She also works with high school students on promoting leadership and community engagement. We also have Principal Muhammad Alsanai, who is a certified educator and has been working in the education field for over 12 years. He has earned his master's degree in education leadership from Wayne State University, and also in 2013 obtained educational leadership certification in administration and supervision from the Michigan Department of Education. Guests, welcome. We also have two amazing students from Atzel Ford High School, Miss Hanan Mazub, my niece, as well as the other student. I don't know their name. So Dr. Souweidane, what's their name?
So you have here actually Rani Abdullah. And I honestly, when I asked Hanan to, because these are my student leaders for a group that I run, I did not know that she was related to you until this morning when I went to get her from class, and she said, "Oh, that's my uncle."
All right, great. Well, it's always great to have you. So let's first talk about the return to school. I'd like first to touch on that. How has that been for you educators? And then we'll get also the students to chime in. Let's start with Dr. Souweidane.
Well, we are excited and thrilled to be back at school. I would say, and I'm speaking for the rest of the educators that I work with, we get a lot of energy just from being in the building. And so being here and being around students and being able to work with students in the same room, in the same facility has been tremendous. And we're seeing a lot more growth and a lot more engagement. We obviously coming back to school with COVID and making sure that we're keeping a safe distance and masks. And so there are added layers of steps that we have to take. It's not school as normal. And that is a challenge. And that's a challenge for everybody, including the students. And we've kept that in mind. And we focused, I would say, the first couple of weeks in school, we really did. And in the buildings that I'm at, I can say for sure that everyone, administration, instructional staff, all staff and students have worked on building relationships. And again, learning how do we communicate with each other, right? All of us have been kind of isolated, and the face-to-face interaction is new. And so we have been working hard on doing that. And I think that is, making a difference for our students. And I'll let students share their experience on that.
Sure. So let's first also hear from Dr. Alsanai, or Mr. Alsanai. How has the school been? You're now a principal at Bridge Academy West in Hamtramck. How has the school year started since September?
Good morning, everybody. Actually, I'm a principal at Frontier International Academy.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
That's fine. I think the biggest two challenges that schools are facing going back to in-person instruction is 2 points. First of all, the students has been isolated for over almost 2 years, which created some lack of social interaction between the students and one another, and between students and staff. Coming back to the building, there is a lot of gap that was created, especially at the elementary schools. The fact that those little kids lack that social interaction with each other brought them back to a different environment. That's one of the challenges the schools are having. The other, I think, challenge is at this point, almost all the schools around the country are not able to measure the gap of the lost learning during the pandemic. And how can we react to close that gap? I think that's the work in progress, and that would be the front burner item in all the schools around. How can we work hard with those students to get them back where they should be at this point? And how can we recover the loss of learning that happens during the pandemic? Of course, the challenges of social distancing, wearing the mask, keeping that safe environment for everybody inside the building is still a challenge as well. It's getting better every day, I think, because kids are getting used now to wearing the masks all the time, maintaining the social distance, but it will continue to be a challenge just to follow up and reinforce that in the institutions.
Let's hear from the students, Hanan and Ronnie. How has the school been for you?
Honestly, at first I was kind of scared to come back, but when I came back, everything, it wasn't going too fast. The teachers took it great. We came back and they took it gradually on us, slowly, step by step, until we actually got to learn. And it's honestly been great because I got to see like other people's faces and their reactions to things. And I can see it in the teachers' eyes too. Like when they see something, when they ask a question and other people are confused, they know how to reply and how to like keep going. So it's been great.
Ronnie?
Yeah, I think similar to what Souweidane said, a lot of students were really excited to come back. I know Dearborn Public Schools actually offered them to stay online or come back to school, and most students chose to come back. And one of the things I think that, of course, there's a lot of downside of staying in quarantine for a year and a half, but one of the benefits is that a lot of students coming back in are kind of more open to ideas like extracurriculars and clubs. I know our social justice committee, normally we get about 20 members. This year we have around 50, just because of how many more like students are like trying to find out what they were probably missing out on before. But I still think it is a little bit difficult for some of the incoming freshmen because they were in quarantine for a year and a half. So now coming back and starting a new environment in high school and all. So yeah.
Dr. Souweidane, there has been a lot of talk about students coming in with a lot of behavioral issues or acting up, and that perhaps has been a result of the isolation and no social interactions. Is that something that is happening that you see with students in high school or middle school?
I think that happens across the board. I think that, from what I'm hearing, people even in other districts, the students aren't sure exactly where the parameters are when they come back. If you've been at home for a year and a half and you didn't have the structure of I have to get up at this time and I have to get dressed and be ready and be sitting here and be focused for X number of hours. Although it was online learning, it was unstructured for many of the students. And many of the students said that they, oftentimes were learning sitting in their bed, or sometimes they would get up and go somewhere and do something and then come back to their screen. So this is really now new for them to come back to school. And I think that as long as we keep the structure in place and as long as we keep the dialogue going between us and the students when things come up, I think things have been, I haven't seen anything that's alarming to me. I know that when I see misbehavior, as long as we're using the restorative approach where, going up to the students saying, what happened? What are you thinking about? Helping them understand the harm that they may be causing, and then giving them the opportunity to repair the harm. What do you need to do to make your community better here in the school? What do you need to do to make things better for yourself? When we give them that autonomy to do that with the structure that's needed, the students are responding positively, I would say.
Great. Mr. Alsanai, now coming to the TikTok challenges and those things that are obviously new to educators, and we're seeing that across the country. Obviously, for those who don't know, TikTok is a social media network that is very, very rampant with teens and young adults. It's kind of the new Instagram where a lot of people have migrated to that app. It is a Chinese app mainly. that is spreading a lot of things that sometimes are negative, sometimes are positive, but it's been dubbed that those challenges are extremely harmful sometimes, and that they could cause bodily harm. So can you tell us what you have learned about these things, and if you have seen them in your schools?
There's been this group in Tock that's leading a challenge for students to break something in the schools, videotape it and post about it, and they're pushing the students to vandalize the buildings they go to. I haven't seen it much in my building. There was a couple mild accidents where small stuff get broken. We were able to handle it, but the big challenge is these challenges are not going to stop. Every time you think it's ending, something else will come up. Some students were telling me about a new challenge coming where the students have to hit someone at the school, a teacher or educator, and record that and post it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it happening in some of the schools around us. But I think Dr. Souweidane nailed it. The main thing to face these stuff is conversations with the students, explain to them the damage that could result in these actions. We have, during the advisory time, our staff talk to the students and have that conversations, how many people post about it, what's your feeling about it, what's your reaction. And then we have some teachers also that led with students an opposite challenge where they challenge students to do something positive in the school, record that and post about it. Just, campaign from the other side. It worked very well. I haven't seen much problems about it in our school, a couple incidents since the school starts, but I know the whole nation is facing this challenge. And I think the main thing is conversations with the students, parents, educators. We all have to have the honest conversations on why this is happening. And I think the pandemic resulted in many kids spend more time online or on social media than before, because when they were sitting home, that was their word that was the social world they interact with. I think that contributed into it.
To the students, Hanan and Rani, are you seeing this a lot within your circles?
Not in my circles, but my sister has told me about it, and I've seen the trend going around. And teens right now are easily peer pressured, especially as middle schoolers. So if they see people getting likes and people laughing at the posts they're making, they're obviously going to keep doing it even more and more. But they don't understand the real consequences because of this, especially because our schools right now barely, we don't exceed the funds that we get. We barely have the funds. So for them to ruin things that cannot be replaced will not only impact them, but future generations, and they're going to ruin it for other students as well.
Yeah, I think kind of to add on, I haven't really seen it at sport or any of the middle schools that I volunteer at or anything, but I have seen it online, and I know that it has negative consequences. And I agree with Hanan. Most of it is because of the influence they have from other students and their friends, seeing a like, seeing a follow, and then getting that kind of adrenaline rush where they think, I'll do the same thing, I won't get into trouble. They don't understand the real consequences, not just for themselves and for the teachers, but for, just like Hanan said, generations to come. Especially if a school can't afford to replace it or maintain like that.
We will take the last commercial break, and then when we come back, we will talk about the parents' role in this and how we can also educate them on those challenges as well. And we will also touch on the vaping issue. So stay tuned. We will be back.
Are your hands feeling numb? Do you feel pain opening up a jar, turning a key? Are you noticing that your elbow and your shoulder are becoming stiff? Or were you recently injured in your arm? Hello, I'm Dr. Abduljeet Katranji, and at the Katranji Hand Center, which just recently opened down the street from the Somerset Mall, we can provide you with the latest in hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder care. Visit us at www.katranjihandcenter.com to learn the latest techniques that we have to offer you, and I look forward to taking care of you.
Visit us in Troy at 1565 West Big Beaver Road, Building F, or call Katranji Hand Center for an appointment at 248-869-4263. That's 248-869-4263. Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
Enjoy the first Syrian-style cuisine in Michigan. At Damas Cuisine and Catering, you'll find a wide selection of Syrian foods and sweets in our menu, like frikeh, poisi, grape leaves with steak, mashawi platter, hot mahashi, char-grilled kebab, shawarma, and much more. Get super fast delivery from Damas Cuisine and Catering right to your door. Order online at damascuisine.com/menu and track your order live. Damas Cuisine and Catering, 28841 Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. Call 248-987-4985.
And listeners, welcome back to Radio Melody. This is Adam Mazub, welcoming you back. I am hosting a group of educators from Frontier Academy as well as Edsel Ford High School. I have Dr. Violet Souweidane as well as Mr. Mohammed Alsanai, who's principal there. And two amazing students from Edsel Ford High School, Ms. Hanan Mazub, as well as Mr. Rani Abdullah. And we also would like to thank Edsel Ford High School for facilitating this and Mr. Raid Umar for lending his office for this great interview. So, Dr. Souweidane, vaping issue, this has been a very, very concerning issue within youth where they unfortunately get access to vaping. Obviously, smoking is not allowed for minors in the U.S. And unfortunately, they do get access to them, and sometimes they do take them to school. Is that an issue that you also see in both buildings?
So, look, if I can just add something about the TikTok challenge for parents,
Sure.
Is that okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so one of the things that concerns me is social media and adults' awareness of social media.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of us in our own homes, the friends that our kids bring in, we've kind of vetted them, right? We know something about them, and we wouldn't let them bring a friend home that we thought was a negative influence on our child or on our family.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, oops, sorry about the.
That's okay.
We'll just mute right now because it takes us a little.
Sure, yeah, let's mute and let's go to Mr. Mohammed Sanai until the announcement is done. And I'm sorry about that. Mr. Sanai, do you see the vaping issue rampant in our schools? And what are ways to combat this issue?
It is, and it will continue to be a concern for the whole community, not just for those who go to school. I think the big issue that we're facing is the stores that are selling these vapes to minors are not aware of the consequences of what the law in Michigan says in that regards. And I think whoever is giving them this license should have them take some course or education materials that would explain to them the requirements for selling the vaping. We had seen it spreading around, and it's a growing habits that goes younger every day. So in the past, you used to see the upper high school students do it. Now it's going down to as far as middle school students. Speaking to the students about it is one of the solutions we're having. Getting some health professionals to talk to the students about the health risks coming behind vaping. That's one big thing that we're doing in our school, and it seems like it's working. We've seen good results. We haven't seen incidents, at least this year, inside the building yet. But when the students talk to us, honestly, they tell us what's going on between their groups after schools, when they play, when they go. It's everywhere, and everybody's doing it. I think we just need more reinforcement from the government institutions to those who are selling these vapes. They need to be educated. We also educate the parents about it. When a kid is using a vape, they need to know that there is a financial fine that the parents may have to pay if the students get caught. There is they could go to court. They could serve community service for using vape if they're under 18. All these points have to be cleared, communicated to the parents and explained to them as well.
So, Dr. Souweidane, we'll come back to you right now. You said you wanted to follow up on the TikTok challenges. Go ahead before you were.
Yeah, I think the point that I just wanted to make is we need to know who's coming into our child's home. Into the, when we say to our kids, go to your room, if they're going in with their electronic device, we don't know who they've invited into that room. We don't know who's influencing them. So there are people that are coming into our home that we're not aware of. And that's what happens when our kids are able to go on social media without our knowledge. And I'm not saying that you want to take away kids' phones and you want to take away their computers, but I am saying that we need to be aware of what's on it and check it and be honest with your kids to say, if you're on this account, then I want to also sign on this account. And have conversations with them, have open, honest conversations so that when they see something, if I'm having a conversation with my kid, then they know the right and wrong of it. What are the implications of watching this? Who's affected by this? What influence does this have on you? And so it would be an adult who's talking to them about rights and wrongs because their brain isn't developed. And we know that the brain isn't developed until you're in your early 20s. So all of us should expect that our kids are going to lie to us. That's normal. That's absolutely natural. They're not bad. It's just how the brain is formed at this point. They're not going to come up and tell us, they're going to be impulsive. They're going to do things, that we may disagree of. And some of the research that I was part of back then at U of M, we were looking at what are the influences on teenagers. And there are two things that seem to come up every time people do this research. One, for the teenagers, one is parental monitoring plays a role. Do we know what our kids are doing? Do we know where they're at? Do we know who they're interacting with? And the other big part are peers, their peer groups. So you can have the best parents in the world who are on top of their kids, but if they're with a peer group that's influencing them in a negative way, they may go that way. So those two are major influences in our kids' lives, and for us to be aware of that and to have a say in that, I think is really vital. And then in terms of vaping, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get your perspective on. Go ahead.
I mean, it's another one of those where conversation with youth is going to be the most important route to take with it. It's out there. I don't think youth, for those who are engaged in it, it's again the peer influence, the social media influence, like this is cool, this is fun, look what I'm doing. But what happens with vaping is it starts off as I'm just doing it to hang out with my friends, or I'm just doing it because this is a cool thing. It is addictive. There's addiction involved, and addiction is real. And at this age, when we're addicted, it's much harder. This is why some of the research that's done on addiction in the early years, when someone starts drinking, vaping, marijuana use, we change the structure of our brain so that when you decide that this isn't working for me anymore and my life is negatively impacted, it becomes much more difficult to get off of it. And so
I'd like to get the students' perspective on peer pressure. How, as student leaders in your school, how do you set a good example and kind of combat the negative peer pressure?
So basically, as Ms. Souweidane said, talking to them is like the best effect because vapes are everywhere and they're easy accessible. As we've seen, that peer pressure, is a lot, and we can see it in high schools too. And I've heard even in middle school, people have decided to do vape, which is crazy. But to be honest, just to talk to them and let them know the effects of their body and how fast it can come in the system and how fast addicting it is. And I believe some of the parents don't even know they're doing this. So just to like check up on them, let them know that these things are not good.
Yeah, similar to what both of them have said, I guess it's just peer pressure does play a big role in it, but I think most students aren't really aware of what it's doing to their bodies, what like the effects it's going to have long term, short term, and the addictiveness to it, nicotine and all that. Most of them just think it's just a short term thing. Maybe it is just to look cool. Maybe it is just to hang out with friends. But a big part of it is just has to, of course, parents play a big role in it, and so they have to be more aware of what their children are doing, and then kind of informing them about the effect it's going to have and like how it looks, just in general.
We thank you, Hanan and Rani, for participating in this panel. Research has shown over and over again that the more engaged parents are, the more successful their children will be. So on this platform and other platforms, I always advocate for more parental engagement, for more getting involved in your kids' lives and participating and letting them know that you are their friend more than their parent is very crucial. Once again, I truly thank you for coming on this program. This program will be rerunning today on the radio from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on WNZK in Southeast Michigan. It will also rerun in Washington, Virginia, Maryland on 700 a.m. And also on the Facebook page for US Web Radio, and it will be also readily available on the YouTube channel. Mr. Mohammed Alsanai, principal of Frontier Academy, as well as Dr. Violet Souweidane, who is a student empowerment facilitator with Dearborn Public Schools, and Etzel Ford students, Rani Abdullah and Hanan Mazib. Thank you so much for being with us today. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.